folks. Here we are, Pew Pew and Stabby, coming to you again. What show number are we? Anybody have any idea?
3, 4,
4 or 5, probably, I think.
something like that.
Yeah. So anyways, here we are, back again. Got Tim with us today, because the main man is out doing the mouse. Not literally.
So that's a dance I don't know. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to big shout out to Nick. We know you're watching over there in Florida. So here we are doing our thing. We got tech help today too. Got our man Justin in the background taking care of all this business. Don't wave, no one's gonna see you. All right. Anyway, so what's going on? Are they up? You got them up yet?
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah, there we go.
Let me get situated. Okay, good. I don't have to then.
Good deal.
Good deal. Anyways, so here we are. So who's out there?
We got John.
John, my man.
Says, what's up, man?
Well, cool. Well, first of all, here we are. And, wait a minute, hold on. What else we got here? Kimberly?
Yeah, we got a few
Kimberly
people watching
asked
there.
one. Okay, to kick the show off, again, we run this show. We got subjects squared away, but ultimately we would rather talk about the stuff you guys want to talk about. So, by all means, keep feeding us information. So, who else we got here? Kimberly? Nobody yet?
Nobody yet. Well, we got a few people. S1, Brittany
Kimberly,
in West Virginia.
Brittany. All right, hey Brittany, what's going on? All right, so big week for us here at Double Star. We got our annual Kali camp here in Lexington. So we're going to be broadcasting that this week. Probably, if I had to guess, Thursday and Friday. We'll go ahead and do short Pew Pew and Stabby out at the Four Seasons. Big shout out to Four Seasons in Lexington, Kentucky. So, and that, interestingly enough, is how I met the VP.
Cool.
At the Kali camp. Yep. So, you know.
So you're going to do the Kali camp. Why don't you tell them a little bit about Kali camp? I know we talked about it a little bit last week.
Yep.
Kind of explain Kali because I don't know that much about it. I know you and Jesse are into it, but it's not something I know that much about.
Yeah. So it's a Filipino martial art. A lot of what you're seeing now in movies, Born Identity, Book of Eli, probably 80% of what you're seeing in movies is Filipino martial arts. Kali, Arnis, Eskrima. The particular flavor that we do is Filipino combat systems. It just so also happens that one of our designers, Ray Dianaldo, he is one, actually. He came after me, so he's been with us for quite some time, actually. The guy who hosts the show, Ernie Lake, my senior instructor, he's also one of our designers now as well. We got this a little bit of a Super Squirrel thing, secret stuff. We're going to be telling you. We're going to have.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it here first. But yeah, so I've been with the organization like 8 years now.
Cool.
Jesse's probably been a little bit longer than me.
Yeah.
Considering that Ernie's been teaching here in town, he's been Jesse's instructor for quite some time. So what it is it's a martial art that covers all the bases. So we do ground fighting, we do grappling, we do knife, we do stick, flexible weapon, striking, kicking, takedowns. I mean, just about there's really, when you talk about no holds barred, Filipino martial arts is no holds barred. I mean, there's nothing that you can't do. The really cool thing about Kali also as well is that it translates well into all kinds of other stuff that you may be doing. In other words, if you're a gun guy, you know, there's a lot of the body mechanics that will translate well into gun work.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a very popular. Everybody who's known about Manny Pacquiao, he's actually comes from a long line of Escrimadores which fall into the Kali bracket.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So
it's something that's been around for a while.
A couple thousand years. And that speaks a lot to its effectiveness, because martial arts die constantly just because people don't use them anymore. They become obsolete. They go the way of the dinosaur. Kali has a way of evolving and growing and changing with combatives. The Filipinos were really good about, you know, if they got their butts kicked by the Spaniards, they would not only come back and work on their game, they would find out what the Spaniards were doing and take it as well. So it was kind of the first mixed martial arts, so to speak.
Okay. So again, it takes from everything. It's not just one mindset or one theory on that. That's pretty cool.
True battlefield stuff.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to tell us about it? Because, like I said, I don't know that much about it. I'm sure a lot of the people watching probably don't know a lot about it. I'm not a big martial arts guy as far as knowing anything about it. So
you can get on. I mean, it's kind of been an aloof, interest for me since the early '90s when I first started training. There was always seemed to be I'll not throw out another name, Guru Dan Inosanto. There was always an Inosanto school somewhere in an obscure part of the country. Mm-hmm. Even where I grew up in upstate New York, there was an Inosanto school. And at that Inosanto school, they taught Muay Thai, they taught Kali, Arnis, Eskrima, they taught boxing. They taught a lot of stuff that encompasses Filipino martial arts. So that started in the late 80s, early 90s for me. I never sold on to it because it was always this idea that it was just the stick guys, a bunch of guys over there playing with sticks. But it wasn't until, that happened again for me in the mid-90s where I went to another school to learn something else, and there's these Kali guys again. And again, we played with the sticks and did a few other things, but I didn't, really get onto it. But then later on, someone exposed it to me, and it's the culture, everything. And then I completely immersed myself in the art and found out that it is incredibly effective. And it really, again, it's that true battlefield mentality. If you get into the history of it, you find out really quick that it's very, very practical, and it doesn't leave anything open for interpretation. It teaches you how to grapple, teaches you how to take down, teaches you how to ground fight, teaches you weapons. Actually, it very much is a weapons-based system. So you learn stick, knives, which translates into not necessarily a knife. It could be that you don't have to pull out your really cool dagger. Mm-hmm. The actions that you learn, you could use with a broken bottle.
Okay. So it adapts to whatever right there.
It doesn't necessarily need to be a really cool folder or a really, really fancy fixed blade or anything. No, there's certain actions and things that you can do with a bottle that you would learn from that knife technique that would translate into whatever you're using at that particular point.
That's pretty cool because you don't always have what you need.
No.
And most everybody I ever talked to is when things go bad, they weren't really ready for it, yep. Or whatever they had was broken, or it was in the other room. So if you can adapt to what you've got, it sounds like a pretty cool system.
Yeah. And Kali actually teaches you how to improvise. It teaches you how to improvise, because think about it, if stick, knife, flexible weapon. Okay, so we use we learn flexible weaponry through a system called a sarong, which is like a loose piece of material. But all the techniques are translatable to an extension cord, a towel, t-shirt end through end. It doesn't necessarily, again, it doesn't need to be that exact tool. Gotcha. It could be something that translates well.
That's pretty cool.
So it really brings up improvised weapons really well. Does a very good job of that.
John says it uses weapons of opportunity.
Yep.
Basically.
Absolutely. And that's really what fighting's all about. Because fighting is spontaneous. Fighting is dynamic. Well,
and you and I kind of talked about that yesterday when we were getting ready for the show today. Yep. I don't prescribe to any one training thing. I like the idea of having ideas of what to do, but I don't want to get caught up in it's always going to be this way or, something like that. So if it's something where you can adapt, that makes sense.
Yeah. And always, you should always lean to, I think even with a gun, you want to lean toward open-mindedness and the ability to improvise and flow. Mm-hmm. And that's a very common term used in Kali. We talk a lot about flowing, to be able to be water-like. A lot of folks lean to Bruce Lee, like he was the one who came up with that. Mm-hmm. Well, not really. The Filipinos have been talking about it for centuries. Gotcha. The ability to be like water. Mm-hmm. You put it in a vase, it takes the shape of the vase. A creek flows in a particular direction, it takes the path of least resistance. Well, combat should be very much the same way. Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily always try to go brick wall to brick wall. You sometimes going around the brick wall is more effective.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about this or comments on it?
Awesome. Well, let's just keep going.
Okay.
But all that being said, strongly encourage cross training. If you've got a BJJ school next to you, try that. And if you got MMA, go try that. You got Kali, go try that. it's always good to have a nice broad, you know, because if it takes so long to learn one thing, by all means try to learn one thing, but the bottom line is fighting is dynamic. It moves, it flows. It's not going to be something that's, well, I'll never go to the ground. That's never say never in fighting. That's just a very poor mistake.
And like we were talking about yesterday, you know, when the fight starts, all the rules and all your planning are gone. You just go with what you've got and go with it.
Yep. Best laid plans fall apart at first contact with the enemy. That's the way it works.
Paul Vandergrift, you know Paul?
What's up, Zilla?
He says that's why he carries his Halcon or Zero and a sidearm, backup to backup.
That's it. My man is heavily bladed. Heavily bladed. I know this man personally. He is not kidding. He carries a lot of kit on his person.
Gotcha.
Definitely. So, and the same thing with a gun. You know, it's you'll fight how you train. It's really there's no exchange for it.
He says he's fueled by muscle, memory, and adrenaline.
That's it. That is exactly it. You know, train it. You know, and don't be afraid to try new things either. A lot of people, I can get into this conversation of fine and gross motor skill. We can go on for days about that. But the bottom line about it is that, and I talk a lot to the gun guys about this. So they'll see a lot of stuff that I do, and they'll talk a lot about fine motor skill. Well, Rob, that's too fine. I can't do that. Okay. Well, I've watched operators do mag exchanges. That's not gross motor skill. That is not gross motor skill by any stretch of the imagination. So it just goes down to train. Because what you think is fine will eventually become gross motor skill.
Become normal.
It'll become normal. It'll just be something that you know how to do.
Gotcha. John said that Mike Tyson said it best, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Punch in the face. That's exactly right. And it trained for, and then even that, anybody who's ever been to scrap, you've been hit, you know, and then obviously everything changes.
Yeah.
You know, you're picking yourself up off the ground or trying to make something happen, or if it's a life or death situation, you're trying to make space so you can recover and do something, you know. And like I said, again, it's got to be, whatever you do, it's got to be able to translate to multiple platforms. It cannot be a one-trick pony. You know, if you're a guy who likes to train Muay Thai, train Muay Thai. Train the daylights out of Muay Thai. But do yourself a favor and try to work something else. You know, try to work the ground game. You know, try traditional boxing. Does it differ? Yeah. You may see and learn things that you didn't learn before. So that's the whole biggest thing. I had a much different aspect growing up. I trained like one system. I trained it really, really well, and I was really good at it. But when I started meeting people who trained multiple systems, you realize really quick that the ability to be able to work in several different areas is just so much better. It's just so much more versatile, and it makes you more confident all the way around.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
The more you know, the more you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it just makes you more adaptable and a better fighter, and then ultimately a survivor.
And that's the end goal.
Yep, survive.
Yep.
Survive.
Anybody else got anything out there? Any questions? While we're waiting on questions, do you want to tell them what this week's special is?
Yes, by the way. So, today, with this whole thing about knife, this week's special is, this is actually this is a cosmetic blim. This is a fully functional knife that we've gone ahead and wrapped with paracord. This is as is this blade with your limited, we currently have a limited number of these.
I think so, yeah.
So get these. These are regular 100. At a discount, they're 85, but today, with the Stabby promo coupon, it's going to be right around, what, $68?
So 20% off, and it's $68 plus shipping.
You know, this is as is. You know, there's not going to be any sheath or anything like that. You can make your own sheath or something like that. But these are great little blades, great for you to stick in a pack, something like that. So get them while you can. Head to star15.com.
I think I can see Paul getting his credit card out right now.
Yeah, knowing him, yeah, he's already throwing his money. So star15.com. If you got any questions about this week's sale, you can go ahead and email me, rob@star15.com, okay? This is this week's special. Brought to you by the letter K for knife.
And the coupon code on that is Stabby, Stabby. Right.
So what are we going to move on for today, this week's Tech Tip?
Well, let me tell you a little bit about me, because I came in kind of fast at the end last week. Nick's on vacation this week. He's down in
Much
Florida.
needed.
I hope it's really hot and really dry down there.
Yeah.
Since he didn't take us with him.
Yeah.
So I've been here for 10 years. I actually started this job as it was a part-time job. I had a job lined up in the summer. I was going to be a bellboy at Yellowstone National Park.
That actually sounds like
It was would have been a cool job. Pretty glad I stayed here. It's a pretty cool place. So I've done just about everything in the company. I don't know how to do shipping. But I started on the buttstock production line. That was entry level when I started here, and have moved up to. I started building uppers. I started doing gun shows with the company. We bought Ace, and Jack came in one day and he said, "Tim, we bought a company." And I said, "That's cool." And he said, "Well, and you're gonna take care of it on the day-to-day running it." I said, "Okay, we'll go with that." So Ace, for 3 or 4 years, that was my baby. I took care of it all day, every day. I know a lot about Ace and a lot about AKs that I didn't know when we bought that company. Since we've moved to our new shop, we moved here about 3 years ago. I do a lot of tech calls, tech emails. I work with our sales staff and do vendor shows, dealer shows. So I'm out of the shop as much as I'm in the shop sometimes. But I'm around the company. I've been done a lot of stuff from assembly through production stuff. So I've done all that stuff in the company. But now, like I said, I'm doing tech stuff and customer support stuff. So that's what I do. That's about me.
Well, talk to us. What is Ace?
Okay, so Ace is a buttstock company, basically. That's the easiest way to explain it. They make aftermarket buttstocks for a variety of weapon platforms, mainly the AK, but going into like the Remington 870, Mossberg 500 shotguns, FN ARs, the CZ Scorpion. CZ Scorpion pistol. So if you do your paperwork, you can make a short barrel rifle out of that. It's a modular system, so other than on an AR platform, the way it works is you take the factory stock off, excuse me, and there's a hole in the back of the receiver. So we make a part that goes in and plugs that hole and makes a solid mounting surface for everything that you put on behind it. Okay. So all of our stocks, you can make them fold or you can make them fixed length, and everything is modular, so it just mounts on top of each other and stacks that way. Most all of it does not require any gunsmithing. There is some gunsmithing required on some of the stuff, but it's all pretty simple stuff. We've talked a long time about doing videos, install videos, and I know we're working on some now.
Yeah, so
for a long time, I always wanted to have the kids that are in the shop, during the summer, our kids and the grandkids and stuff. I always wanted to have them do the install to make sure that people understood exactly how easy that system works. I think a lot of people get hung up on, I'm working on a gun, it has to be really mechanical and really difficult. And it doesn't have to be that way. AKs are really simple. For the most part, taking a buttstock off isn't hard. It usually just involves some screws. Mm-hmm. But the receiver block, like I said, it just mounts up. It's real simple. And then you mount your folding mechanism on that if you want it to fold, if you're allowed to have it fold wherever you're at. If not, the stock will mount directly to that receiver block, and you've got a fixed stock. Super simple. Now for ARs, the stocks work just like AR stocks always work. You take the factory one off, you can screw this one in. Nothing, mind-blowing about installation on that. AR stocks pretty much work like AR stocks. If anybody has ever seen the skeleton stock for an AR-15, that's an Ace stock. That's one of the early stocks that Bob did. Not the first stock, but it's one of the early stocks that he developed, and it's been going for, let's see, he started the company in about 97. I'd say within 5 years he had developed that stock, and we've had the company for the last 10 years now. We're right at 10 years right now.
Well, there's some really cool stuff that we've made. I mean, I know for one, I've seen the SOCOM. That's a sharp one.
The SOCOM is definitely an attention-getting stock.
Yeah.
It's designed for door breaching. It's a good all-around stock. Excuse me. You can do a lot of stuff with it. It's not a terrible stock for precision shooting. It's got a nice flat on the bottom, on the in the back there. real aggressive bottom for door breaching or motivation. Sometimes you just need to get somebody's attention.
Yeah, some tenderizing.
I may have tapped a guy in the knee a couple times with one or two. But it's just a nice all-around stock, and it's adjustable, and it's not plastic. That's the other cool thing about Ace stuff is everybody on the market makes a butt stock. They're all plastic. You know what happens when you hit something with plastic or when you drop plastic?
Disintegrates.
It cracks, it breaks, it gets brittle over time. Ace stuff, for the most part, is all aluminum. The only plastic we use on a stock itself is Delrin, which was designed for the space industry. And you don't mold it; it's actually machined like you would metal or wood. So it's pretty tough stuff.
We went as far too, from what I understand, we went as far as to create a really nice stock for our Star 10, the 308 platform too.
Our hammer stock.
Hammer.
Yeah,
that thing is amazing.
It's a beast, and it goes with the gun that we call the Beast. It actually it started out as a redesign, an updated redesign of the SOCOM stock. And it developed into a lot of other things.
It's hot.
And when we took it to SHOT Show, everybody liked it, but they said, please don't get rid of the SOCOM stock. Everybody loved that SOCOM stock.
Yeah.
So, when you hear that from law enforcement, when you hear that from military guys, you got to listen.
Yeah.
They're the guys using that. They're the guys knocking down doors. And when they like it, you got to go with it. So we came back and we fixed some of the things that we knew we wanted to fix up and clean up on the SOCOM and decided to run 2 stocks. Because it was such a nice, high quality,
it's awesome,
tough stock.
Awesome stock. If you haven't seen one, get to star15.com and have a look at our hammer. It's a very impressive piece of material. And again, for all of our door kickers out there, we're doing what we do for you guys. Absolutely. So what do you got for tech for today?
So today I'm going to talk a little bit about cleaning your rifle. One of the biggest problems that we see on anything that gets returned to us, for whatever reason it doesn't work, whatever. On an upper especially, or a rifle, is that it's dirty. That's usually what fixes the problems that we get returned to us. So what we're going to talk about is basic cleaning. So I got an upper here. I don't know if, I really don't want us to have to stand up, but we'll see wait till this comes up, because in case y'all don't know, there's a delay, so I haven't even seen this come up on my screen yet, so I don't know if you can see me yet. Yeah, we can do this way. You see me, Justin? Okay. We've also got this on Instagram this week, so we got 2 cameras, not just the one.
Yeah, for all you Instagram folks.
So first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your bolt carrier out, and you're going to clean your bolt. Do that. You're going to take your bolt carrier apart. You're going to remove the firing pin, retaining pin out of the side here. You can see it's not hard. I just did it with my fingernail. Kind of looks like a little cotter pin.
Yep.
And then your firing pin's going to fall out in your lap. Thank you. You want to make sure that's clean, make sure that's nice and cleaned off. Take your cam pin out here. Make sure he gets oiled real good when you put him back. You're going to clean your bolt. We'll get all the carbon off of it. They make some nice carbon scrapers to get that off there.
You use solvent or anything like that?
Yeah, your solvents. I use mainly Hoppies because you can get it anywhere. You can get it at Walmart. You can get it at any gun shop. It's been around for years and it works. I'm not a big fan of saying this is the only thing that will work or you've got to have this one. Most of the quality solvents out there have been around because they work.
Okay.
So you want to clean that off, get all your carbon off there, get your nice toothbrush and clean down in there, get your bolt face and everything. Make sure that your ejector is nice and clean and free, moves freely. It's a little spring-loaded pin down here on the face. Clean it up, scrub it up, and work it back and forth. Put a couple drops of oil on there, work it back and forth, get that in there. There's a spring down in there, so you got to make sure it's not all gommed up.
Gotcha.
Okay. So when you put that back together, make sure everything gets oiled up well. Put your bolt back in, oil your cam pin up. When you put it in, and then put a little bit of oil on your firing pin. Make just a light coating on there. So then you've got all these little holes right here on the side. That gets around back into your bolt, but to make sure that the place where the bolt's sitting gets some oil in it. So you got 2 holes here. There's one up here. Drop just a couple drops of oil in there. No big deal. It's not real hard to do. some oil on your rails, so your flats here on both sides and on the top and the bottom, and you're good to go on your bolt carrier. Now, when you get to the upper, the main thing that we see is a dirty chamber. I would say 90% of the returned uppers that we get, they don't work, they don't eject, they don't extract. Something's wrong and it doesn't work. When we get it back in the shop, it's a dirty chamber that fixes it. We clean it and it works. Okay, so make sure your chamber's clean. The most important thing for an AR owner is a chamber brush. I don't know if you see this. Hold that up there so they can see that, please.
This has got the cone here, and then there's a larger brush here in the back.
Yep.
So we provide these too. So.
All right. So the reason that is two different diameters is, if you look in here, there's a gap between the lugs in your chamber, or in your the lugs that your bolt locks into, and the chamber of the gun. So when you put a round in, it's going to sit down in the chamber, and your bolt comes in and locks behind it. But you get a lot of gunk and grease and oil and burnt powder and all that stuff gets all gunked up in there. So what we normally do here at the shop is we put this on a piece of cleaning rod. It's about 2 lengths long, something like this. Actually, this is just 1 length long. So you've got it on a cordless drill, and that way when you go to clean that, it's hard to get a lot of torque with your arm in there and get it in there and scrub it real good, because you're pushing this way. So we usually do that, put a little bit of solvent in there, hobbies, CLP, whatever you're using, and just hit that 2 or 3 times for a second or two. You're not polishing a Hope Diamond, you don't have to all day long, because you're going to burn stuff up then. But just kind of,
Would they vice the upper?
No, well, you can. You can hold it in your hand. I mean, you're not putting that much,
Gotcha.
Okay. And not everybody has a vice at home.
Gotcha.
So do that, get it out there, and then take you a Q-tip and clean all that gunk out, and then just use a regular brush for the rest of your barrel. Regular barrel brush in 223 or 556. Probably 223 is what you're going to find at Walmart.
Okay.
And then patches, get all the oil and stuff out of it, and then run an oil patch through it, and that way it preserves it for when you've got it in the safe, or wherever you keep your guns. Gotcha. Some people keep them in the trunk. I don't know.
And that's it.
That's it. But the important thing is getting it cleaned and making sure that it's clean. You can send them back to us to clean them, but it's $85 an hour. If you have a warranty claim and that's what's wrong, it really sucks to have to charge you $85 to tell you there was nothing wrong with it, but it was dirty.
Yeah.
So just make sure it's clean. Make sure and the cleaner you keep your gun, the better it's going to run for you.
You take care of it, because it may have to end up taking care of you. So be nice to your kit. That's what it amounts to.
Well, and you never find out anything's broken until you need it.
And that's a heck of a time to have that happen, to be honest with you, in case you actually ever have to use it. So.
Yeah.
All right, well, anybody got any more questions out there? Join, Paul, that's fact. Paul's a big gun guy. He's actually kind of a Smith.
I don't know Paul, but he seems very well informed, because he's everything that we've said, he's been right on point on what he's saying too.
He actually does a little bit of gun building himself. It's good to have him on here. So, folks, we're just about winding it down already. These 30-minute ones go by pretty quick.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, again, get with us. Rob at star15.com, Tim at star15.com. You got any questions about anything? Keep messaging on the show even after we go off, because anything you guys put up there, we take into consideration and try to make it happen for you guys. So, from me, from Tim, from Justin back behind the camera, and from Nick, thanks for joining us here at Pew Pew and Stabby. We'll see you next week, next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Be safe.
Don't forget coupon code Stabby, 20% off
to get your fang. We'll see you guys out there. Take it easy. Bye.
Thank you.